name is Nathan Brummel, and I'm the first administrator and professor at Divine Hope Reformed Bible Seminary, which is a new dedicated prison seminary. I wanted to give a little update to you about the exciting work that is occurring in the Danville Correctional Center in Danville, Illinois. Recently, I went on a visit to a remarkable place, to the Louisiana State Penitentiary, which is the prison in Angola, Louisiana. It is a remarkable place where the chapel steeples are higher than the guard towers, and that by design. Recently I visited the Louisiana State Prison along with some members of the Illinois Department of Corrections, including the Chief Chaplain Stephen Keim, who has been a great supporter of our seminary, and Chief Debbie Denning, who is the Chief of Programming, and the Assistant Director Gladys Taylor. Tom and Wendy Horton, who have visited Angola Prison many times with Manny Mill and have taken many visitors there from Chicago and the Illinois area, helped to organize our visit. As a group, we toured this facility, which has 5,500 men. It is a maximum security prison where almost all of the residents are lifers. There is also a death row. In the first part of the 20th century, Angola Prison was a dangerous place. It was one of the roughest and most vicious prisons in the South and in the country. Progress was being made in the 1980s, but in 1995, a new warden, Brummel, took over at a time when suddenly the state of Louisiana cut their funding off for community colleges within the prison and for universities. Well, the New Orleans Baptist Seminary stepped up to bat and volunteered to provide a free theological education for the residents in Angola. And it is the graduates of that seminary that have played a role in transforming the entire environment of that prison. The graduates of the seminary are now preachers. They weren't ordained, although in the near future hopefully that will occur. And they also have positions of leadership throughout the entire prison. For example, a leader in the automotive shop is a seminary graduate who basically can hire who he wants to assist him in his work, and he also works with short-termers from other prisons who are brought into Angola so that they can be taught how to fix cars, and then also they are mentored by the Christians there and the seminary graduates. Our group spent time with Warden Brummel discussing his philosophy for corrections and also the role that religion should play in moral rehabilitation. The concept of moral rehabilitation is important to Brummel. He also recognizes that one of the most important ways in which moral rehabilitation occurs is through religion. And basically he'll say, whatever religions there are out there, like Buddhism, if it contributes to moral rehabilitation, he's open to their working in the prison. But he realizes that within the American context, the way in which moral rehabilitation occurs is most often in connection with Christianity, and therefore he is supportive of the Christian seminary functioning within the prison. As guests, we also enjoyed the southern hospitality that we had there as we ate at the warden's table at the ranch house. We had grits, and we had okra, and also we had a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables, since in Angola prison you have a huge place. It's the size of Manhattan Island, and there the residents actually are engaged in farming, and so they still have men working out in the fields under the supervision of officers on horseback, and they work in fields raising vegetables. We also toured death row, and we also were able to join the Christians within Danville at their services, and so we were able to be in the chapels. The largest chapel in the main prison seats about 800 men, and so it was neat to be able to fellowship with confessing Christians there and listen to some of the graduates of the seminary also delivering sermons. It is now the case that if you want to be a seminary student, you have to agree ahead of time that you will go out as a witness or a missionary 2 by 2 to other penitentiaries after your graduation. And the way things are set up is that the men in Angola prison support these men who are sent out at the rate of $50 per month. And so these missionaries do not have a need to have jobs, and they can focus on their spiritual work. Seminary students are also men who can be trusted, and that's very important in prison. Always programming and security need to go together. Well, the seminary students are trusted to teach GED classes. They are trusted to teach classes like anger management classes. One thing that was really affecting was to see seminary graduates who are volunteering now in the hospice program. For the ordinary American, it's a very odd and strange and remarkable thing to visit a prison and then go to a hospital and then go to a hospice and see men who are in their 60s and 70s and 80s who are pining away and dying in prison. Since almost all the residents in Angola have life sentences, the men are dying in prison, and so the seminary graduates, they sacrificially volunteer to bathe the dying men, to feed them, clean them. Very, very amazing and touching thing. You need to now turn ahead, go ahead, because I've done everything that's showing there, right? The Christians in Angola are salt and light within a facility that was at one time the most dangerous and violent prison in the country. Now about half of the residents in Angola prison are confessing Christians, and things have been so changed that I'm told that within the main prison, it's very rare for men to even be in fisticuffs fighting with each other. One time, violence and knifings and attacks were common. Since the seminary was begun there in 1995, violence has gone down another 65% in the prison. There are now 7 prison chapels, one in each one of the prisons there, and these were built by the residents with money donated by confessing Christians within the state of Louisiana. They set up a chapel foundation, and now thankfully they've been able to complete their work and conclude their work, and there now is a chapel or church building within every single prison within the state of Louisiana. There are 32 churches or so functioning in Angola. These churches are self-governing, self-supporting, and self-propagating. They're self-supporting that they can have sales of food and concessions. They're sort of treated like a club at this point. Warden Burl Kane made sure that when they built chapels within the prison, the chapel steeples were always higher than the guard towers. I was struck by how these churches are also self-propagating. When you visit a church service in prison, there are the greeters, and they're welcoming you in, and also showing a lot of hospitality to visitors. The visit to Angola prison enabled the assistant director of the IDOC and the chiefs to see firsthand the impact that a theological school can have within a prison context. The seminary functions are like an engine that has driven change and transformation within the prison. One result of this visit was that a number of chiefs and the deputy warden visited Danville a few months back. And one thing they decided was that they should have our seminary students live together in the same house. And so the result is that my students have been moved to 3 wings in one house, so that at least they can study together and also get to know one another as well. This way the more gifted students can also begin to tutor those who come from more academically challenged backgrounds.